Christianity is under siege. Every year, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker.
Donald Trump earlier this year calling attention to the state of turmoil so many Christians are facing in the Middle East. And Americans agree with Mr. Trump, at least according to the latest survey by Open Doors USA. 76% of Americans want the next president to address global persecution of Christians. Let's discuss this now with the Director of Advocacy for Open Doors USA, Kristin Wright. She joins us tonight from Newsmax Washington. Kristin, thanks for your time on Newsmax Prime. Now, I understand
Thank you so much for having
Yes,
me.
indeed. It's good to have you, Kristin. Your organization put together a petition calling on the candidates to address the persecution of Christians around the world. Have you gotten any reaction from either of the major two candidates?
Well, we just launched this advocacy campaign calling on the presidential candidates, calling on Trump, calling on Clinton to speak out on international religious freedom issues. And we haven't heard much from the candidates on this very important topic. I've been thinking lately, as this election cycle continues, we're hearing a lot about domestic religious freedom issues, but we're hearing very little about international religious freedom issues. Last year alone, more than 7,000 Christians were actually killed because of their faith in countries around the world. At Open Doors, we believe we need to be hearing something concrete from the candidates on addressing the persecution of Christians and other religious groups around the world.
And of course, Mr. Trump addressed some of the attacks this weekend on ABC News this week. And I'd like to get your take on what has transpired, especially in France, following the murder of that priest. It was an interesting gesture of solidarity as Muslims on Sunday attended Catholic Mass in churches across France and Italy. But that attack that later ISIS claimed responsibility for, hasn't that in essence brought a religious war now to Europe?
I think that what we saw transpire so tragically in France gives us a little bit of an idea of what Christians in many, many countries around the world are facing. You know, Open Doors is on the ground in more than 60 countries around the world, including places like Iraq and Syria, where we've seen the marginalization and the driving out of the Christian community. And so I think that what these attacks show us is just a devastating, growing onslaught of an attack on Christians around the world. And that's one of the reasons why Open Doors has recently launched this campaign, is to encourage the candidates to speak out. But we're not just looking for a soundbite here. We're not just looking for the candidates to say, yes, this happened. What we need to hear from them is a concrete plan of action. How will you, Mr. Trump, or how will you, Ms. Clinton, as the next president of the United States, address the persecution of Christians and other religious groups throughout the world? What is your concrete plan of action? And that's what this campaign is really about. And we're encouraging viewers to go to opendoorsusa.org and sign our petition to the candidates, urging them to take action and to speak clearly, to speak coherently on this issue, and to really put forward a plan of action.
And again, I'll repeat that website, opendoorsusa.org. Now, Kristin, Johnny Moore appeared on this program earlier discussing Christian refugees and the lack of Christians actually being offered help in their situation. Let's look and listen.
I understand the particular threat that's going against religious minorities, and they deserve special treatment. And not only are they not getting special treatment, but we're just like mishandling the situation in every single direction.
And so what do you make of the fact that the Obama administration is bringing in many more Muslims from the Middle East as refugees than Christians?
Well, I think that I've spent a considerable amount of time on the ground in Iraq and in Lebanon and on the Turkish border with Syria, and I've met with many persecuted Christians living in this displacement, living as refugees. And I can speak to the fact that the demographics, if you look at what's happening on the ground in places like Syria, it is more Muslims that are displaced than Christians. But we need to find ways to get to these very vulnerable Christian populations and ensure that they have a track to safety and that they can find their way to another country, to the United States if they desire. And I think that one of the really crucial things that we need to be looking at is how to support Christians and other religious groups on the ground, right in the situation where they're in. And that's what Open Doors is really focused on,
and of
is
course
making the present situation livable for them.
And of course, you mentioned the fact that people can get involved, can sign the petition. In fact, we're showing your website right now, opendoorsusa.org. Kristin Wright, we thank you very much for your time tonight, and we'll check in again with you in the days to come. It's great to have you tonight from Newsmax Washington. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Now back to your calls at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Let's take a telephone call from Texas, Victoria to be precise. That's where Les is waiting on the line. Hi, Les.
Hi, JD. How you doing?
Fine, sir.
I'm kind of a holdover from when you were on with Diamond and Silk, and I just wanted to comment on the Khan story.
Yes.
Okay, it's just another example. Mr. Khan's son exactly is a war hero, an American patriot. But what has happened here is Mr. Khan, I believe, by the Democratic Party and the Clintons, he's been conned into believing that there's something about Donald Trump that isn't patriotic. Mr. Trump has raised millions of dollars for veterans. Mr. Trump did not create ISIS. Our vacuum in the Middle East created ISIS. His son was fighting terrorists. Donald Trump wants to fight the terrorists, and I think he has been misled by the Democratic Party into falling for their tactics. But the whole thing is, Hillary has lied to the American public on Benghazi. She left them people in Benghazi to die. Mr. Khan's son, I believe, was attacked by terrorists in Afghanistan or Iraq. I'm not
Well, obviously he was serving, and the point you make is well taken, Les, and we appreciate your call tonight from Texas. With a minute and a half that remains, let's go down to Atlanta, Georgia. Eunice has been waiting patiently. Hi, Eunice.
Saul Alinsky. We need to read Saul Alinsky's doctrine, 8 Steps to Topple a Nation. There are 8. The first one is healthcare. Control healthcare, and you control the people. The second one's poverty. Increase the poverty as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you're providing everything for them to live. 3, debt. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. That way you're able to increase taxes, and this will produce more poverty.
Boy,
4,
Eunice, you are laying it out there for us. You've gone through 3, and there are 5 more points. Rules for Radicals has it, and we very much appreciate you warning us about the Alinsky-esque notion of candidates on the left like Hillary Clinton, who personally knew Mr. Alinsky. Thanks very much for the call. Now, in the time remaining, we wanted to take a moment and welcome our viewers who joined us tonight on the Jewish Life Network. This is the first evening where you're seeing Newsmax TV programming on the Jewish Life Network. We are so happy that you have found us and you are with us tonight, and we hope that you make it a habit to join us here and to get involved by calling us. As you see, we take live phone calls each night here on Newsmax TV. That'll do it for this Monday night edition of Newsmax Prime. Until tomorrow night, stay brave, stay free, stay tuned, and thanks for watching.